Hello, dear followers. I know I haven't given you a video update in a long time. A couple months that I've now been in Big Bear again, and my last video was the same night that I got back. But it is 1:30 in the morning, and I should be in bed, and I'm not. And I wanted to give you guys kind of a message from me to you. This is actually going to end up being kind of a longer video that I really need to kind of get off my chest, which is why I'm still awake at 1:30 when I have a fuck ton of stuff to do tomorrow, starting at 9 o'clock. Joy. I don't really post a lot of intensely personal things on my blog. I post little stories and anecdotes, and I kind of go into things, but I don't really. There's usually a whole lot more to the story that I'm just not, telling anyone. And I kind of wanted to tell you what's happened to me within the last year, starting from the summer of 2011 until now, the fall of 2012. And I picked today to do it, because technically speaking, it is the 22nd of October, and that's actually kind of a pivotal day. So I'm just going to start from where kind of my new self began. In July of 2011, I was getting ready to come back to Big Bear and start my junior year in high school, and I was really, really excited because when I had left the previous year, there was a lot of unfinished business that I had in Big Bear. I'd only been here for my freshman year and had only had a little bit of time to really get to know people and start some really great friendships. And at the time, I had a boyfriend, and I've talked about him before, actually, often on my blog. His name is Nate. And of course we broke up over the summer before then because I was moving away for a year and he didn't know if he could handle it. There was all this confusion and weirdness, and we broke up, even though our relationship itself was really, really great. And over the next calendar year, there was a lot of on again, off again, and I came out to visit him during Christmas break and during spring break. In fact, during spring break, my mom drove 6 hours from Arizona, where she was, up to Big Bear just so that I could see him. Sorry, Quincy, I came to see Nate. I didn't really come to see you. But she doesn't read my blog, so that's fine. We had a very difficult relationship. Towards the end, he would piss me off a lot, and so I would do something he didn't like, although he wasn't actually my boyfriend, so really I could do whatever the fuck I wanted. There's two guilty parties in that equation, but in July of 2011, he very officially left me, and he is still dating the girl that he left me for, which has been, a difficult situation, as I'm sure all of you gather by now. And actually a little bit hard for me to talk about because she just pisses me off. But, so I stayed a little optimistic and I kind of tried to get back out there. And I dated a boy named Caleb, who I've talked about. I've put up pictures from when we were dating and, updated you guys on how that was going last fall. It ended poorly. Very poorly. We dated for 2 months, but he ignored me for a month, so that was kind of hard to take, but it was my first relationship after the big one. So I kind of expected it to kind of crash and burn, because I wasn't really prepared to be in a relationship, and Caleb wasn't prepared to have a relationship, period, with anyone. Still isn't. Still really bad at that, you guys. Like, I still see him, and I'm like, you just can't function around humans, can you? Moving on, after Caleb and I broke up, there was another person kind of in my life that had started to be in my life a little bit earlier, but due to the specific circumstances, our feelings for each other were, at the time, unspoken. I'm not going to say his name here, but he knows who he is. And he was very, very special to me. And I'm not actually 100% sure what even happened there. We didn't really tell anyone about us. We just kind of were hanging out and doing our thing. And there was another girl. It's always a warning sign, ladies. No matter what he tells you, don't fucking believe him at all. If there's another girl involved, just cut and run while you can. Of course that extends to guys too, you know, if you date guys. If you date guys at all, really. Also, on the reverse, if they're a girl, so I've dated girls too. And if they ever say that there's anyone else, even a little bit, just don't get involved, because they will eventually choose, and it's more than often not you. Something I'm very familiar with by now. Things seemed great, but there was another woman, and I had to go away for my Christmas break to go and visit my father, which sucked in of itself already, but she was coming to see him over the time that I wasn't going to be around him, and the last time I really talked to him was New Year's Eve. We had this big long phone conversation. I got trapped outside the apartment. It was cold, it was crazy. And then New Year's Day came around, and not only were there 20 billion motherfucking pictures of them kissing. Really difficult to handle. But he didn't talk to me at all that day, despite me wishing him a Happy New Year's and kind of just sending him a little hi text. Just completely didn't respond, which was unusual, because he usually likes to talk to me. But apparently he felt too ashamed of himself to even give me the decency of explaining anything to me. And I figured maybe it's just because I'm not there right now. Maybe there's something I don't understand. I mean, obviously he's not my boyfriend or anything weird like that, so I can't get too upset. He's his own person. So I waited in an agonizing 14-day stasis of what the fuck is even gonna happen when I get back there. And then I got back here, and I watched football for him. So I'm at a Saints game with him, because it's shortly before the, I don't know, there was a game. It involved the Saints, and I like them because they're from New Orleans and they have a feudally. That's cool. I don't really understand, but I was hanging out with him, and my friend Quincy was there, and my mom was there, and he was there, and didn't even say anything to me. Didn't say a single thing. And then I invited him over so that we could actually have a conversation about things, and he didn't show up. And then he stopped returning my phone calls, and then he just kind of wasn't in my life for a long time until I finally called him out on it last May, which happened to be a week before he moved away to live with her in Minnesota, where she's from. So that was really difficult, because the first person that I had really truly opened up to since the biggest heartache that I had ever experienced completely and totally betrayed me, and to this day still has not given me any explanation. So if that wasn't hard enough, I went through this whole period of catharsis. You know, I met Tristan, which was really cool, and we kind of had our thing for a little while, and he was really positive, because say what you want about him. I know Tom is a follower, and he doesn't necessarily like Tristan all that much. Say what you want about him, he really made me see myself in a different light. He made me see myself positively, because even though our relationship was mostly sex, pretty much, like at least a good 75% just sex, I never got the feeling that I wasn't a person to him. Because I've, had sex with boyfriends who I thought I was madly in love with, and there was this great connection, and I've kind of always felt like an object. Just a little bit before then. Kind of never really felt respected. And Tristan clearly respected me, because we're having sex, and so therefore you're a person to me, and I like to spend time with you and do that thing. So, I don't know, it just kind of changed who I was a little bit, and kind of gave me the strength to move on from there, which I've been doing a lot of lately. I've been working on who I am as a person, because I looked at myself and there were a lot of things that I didn't like, especially when it comes to relationships, because they get all fucking crazy, and I can't seem to even get someone to be my boyfriend for more than 5 seconds before they're too intimidated by me, or they get bored with me, or I'm apparently really freaky, which you should have known before you started dating me. So there's a lot of work that I've been doing on myself to kind of examine why that might be, and I realized that I was a huge problem in that entire equation, because I didn't respect myself, and I have intentionally sabotaged tons of relationships that I've been in, which is not to let the aforementioned football watching, Minnesota living, I'm gonna say it, he's an asshat. Not to excuse any of his behavior, not to excuse any of Nate's behavior, not to excuse anyone's behavior, but my behavior was not okay. And I needed to examine why that was, and I've recently come to the conclusion that I am polyamorous. Which is not to say that I have multiple boyfriends or girlfriends, because I am also bisexual, so I do date more than one gender. But I need to be in an open relationship, because it's something that I need to explore within myself, and having a boyfriend, which now that I have one, is totally fabulous. Javor is wonderful, and I'm really happy with him. But I don't think that I would be if we didn't have an open relationship. And that's kind of really difficult to explain fully, and I've been trying to. I really have just been trying to see where my words are for this beautiful concept that I have discovered within myself. Also, another really big thing that I had to do this summer is say goodbye to Adam. Adam and I also had an on and off again thing. It was so weird, so bizarre. I met Adam technically when I was 12 years old, because he was working out at the Bristol Renaissance Festival, where I have been every summer since I was 5. So I met him, and he didn't meet me, because he was 16 at the time and didn't have any care for 12-year-olds. But then I met him much, much later, and we started dating when I was 14, I want to say. Yeah, and he was 19. If I'm getting my math right about the earlier numbers. I know that when I started dating him, I was 14 and he was 19. And we were never officially together. We were just kind of sort of together, but not really. And he has broken my heart more times than I can count. But I let him back into my life, and that was a huge mistake. And I should never have done that after the first time that he broke my heart, because he also left me for another girl. Something of a trend is people leaving me for someone else. I just can't even. I can't even. I don't know what that's about, really. That's not my fault. I don't think that's my fault. I think that's them. I think I choose badly or something. But not only was he the first person to ever say that he loved me, he was also the first of a lot of other things. Yeah, so it was kind of hard to let him just go from my life. But I realized that I could never be with him again. I really couldn't. The things that he wants in a relationship and the things that I want in a relationship are so different. When I tried to explain this to him, he thought I meant that I don't want to have kids, and so why would that be a problem, because he doesn't want to either, which is false. I do want to have children, and that's a whole separate thing, not even what I meant when I talked to him. But he clearly didn't even understand any language I tried to speak to him anymore. We couldn't communicate, and his alcoholism had progressed so far that I was constantly afraid for him, and I've been trying to help him with that for so long that it had taken a huge toll on my emotional and mental well-being, and I just couldn't anymore. I reached my limit, and he wanted us to be together, and I didn't want to be with him. But saying goodbye to Adam is the single most hardest thing I have ever had to do in my life. And I've had to do some pretty difficult shit. I've had to stand up to my father. I've had to stand up to myself. I've had to stand up to people who are physically assaulting me in the courtyard of Edison Middle School in Janesville, Wisconsin, because I'm gay, and they don't fucking like that. You know, I have to stand up to oppression everywhere, all day long, every single fucking day. It's everywhere. And the hardest thing that I had to do was say goodbye to someone that I really do love. But I do have to realize that love isn't always enough. And I urge any of you who are watching this to just know that you come first, always. You can love other people, but eventually you have to love yourself. And that is the journey that I have been going through this last year, is loving myself. Because I said this to my friend Tater the other day, which was, my friends always come first. They're the single most important thing to me. And right now that is still accurate. And I would never trade any of my friends for anything in the world. I love them all to death. And I will always be there for them to call when they need me. I will always be there for any of you when you need me. But I have to start thinking of myself, because I haven't thought of myself since I was 12 years old, and I am now almost 18. I have not thought of myself in 5 years, and thank Javar for this, because I now feel like there is someone who cares about me enough that I can take a breather when I am with him, because he doesn't need me to take care of him every 5 seconds, because he is self-sufficient and all he wants to do is take care of me. And I love him. I do. What I have with him is beautiful, because I don't feel alone. I feel like there is someone that can actually take me by the hand and say, come on, let's go find out what you need. Let's go sit down and talk about how much you should love yourself, because you are wonderful. And that is something that I have needed to hear for so long. And I just wanted to tell you guys that today is a very, very important day, because a year ago today I was still dating Caleb, and I felt insecure every moment of that relationship. And on this day, he had a concert, because he's a fucking drummer, because I have a habit of dating those guys. I've dated 3 of them in the last 3 years. It's kind of a weird record for me. But he was having a show up here, and I met someone at that show. His name is Aaron. I thank my stars every day, because if I had never met Aaron, then when the aforementioned football fan left me last winter, I would have not been able to call Aaron up and go out on a date with him. If I had not called Aaron up and gone out on a date with him, then I never would have met Tristan. Because on that date with Aaron, Tristan walked through the door and I saw him. And if I had never been with Tristan, then I would have never, ever in a million years truly been able to be in a position by that summer to ask Javar to be my boyfriend. And I'm so, so happy every day that everything lined up, and that is something that I get to be blessed with. And I want to tell all of you right now that you have also helped me through so much of this. I don't talk about my personal life because I'm usually there for you guys, because I'm usually talking about LGBTQIA rights, because I'm usually talking about feminism, because I'm usually trying to help other people. But when I log on and I see all of you and how beautiful you are, all that I want to say is that you are worth it. And please love yourself, because in this last year, that is what I have learned to do, and it is the most valuable lesson that you will ever have. Thank you for listening to this ridiculously long video, and I hope all of you are doing well.